Now we are going to talk about a new vendor in our portfolio, Trellix. Just kidding. I think that we are the first McAfee Platinum partners in Eastern Europe, and that was 10 years ago. And since then we've been McAfee Platinum partners. Right now, McAfee joined forces with the FireEye to create a new company called Trellix. I still wonder what meeting they decided that name, but I think they have a very interesting portfolio, and they will be very interesting to see what they will do in the future. Meanwhile, while we're trying to establish a remote connection, so Nicolas can deliver us a presentation. If you have any questions, we are here. We have Sonia here with us. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Gabi, are we on? So we are praying to the technology God to help us.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect.
Loud and clear?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. And I just want to let you know that this presentation is focused on building the Zero Trust SOC journey. And I will start with an introduction on the Zero Trust security architecture standards, and then where security operations fit. And in the second part, I will highlight how Trellix can help you in your SOC journey. Before I turn off the camera, I just want to introduce myself. So my name is Nicolas Richer. I'm a solution architect for EMEA with a focus on security operations. And in fact, you might remember the presentation I delivered in person last year on Trellix XDR. I also remember doing some white testing last year at the events. And since I'm from France, I'm French, I enjoy wine drinking. I don't know what you had last night, but I hope it was nice. Now, in my spare time, I'm also a musician playing bass guitar and drums. And I'm really sorry I couldn't join you in person this weekend, but in fact, I was playing at a gig last night, and I didn't want to miss this opportunity. I'm aware that I'm the only remote speaker today, so I will try to make this presentation as memorable as I can. Now, let me turn off the camera so that you can see the slides on the full screen. So now that you know a little bit about me, let's break the ice with a short review of the evolution of the IT infrastructure from the 80s to nowadays. And to introduce a bit of fun in the story, I also want to add some examples of some of the most notable rock bands. So 40 years ago, in the 80s, for me, U2 was one of the most popular rock bands. And the IT infrastructure was made of a couple of mainframes with remote terminals in the same building or accessed remotely via modems. Then, 30 years ago, in the 90s, Nirvana was one of the most popular rock bands, and IT moved to a distributed architecture with Windows, Unix, and a few other operating systems. 25 years ago, in the late 90s, the Spice Girls were on the top of the charts, and IT started to connect to the internet. Then, 20 years ago, in the 90s, it was the turn of Green Day to rock the charts, and virtualization started to replace dedicated hardware. 10 years ago, in the years 2010s, I saw less and less rock bands, and for me, Adele was one of the most popular rock singers of that decade. And the IT infrastructure started to move from the data centers to the cloud, and we all started to use our smartphones to connect to our business applications. 3 years ago, in the 2020s with COVID, my kids were listening to Billie Eilish, and remote work became generalized. And I think this was one of the themes of the previous presentation. So at each stage of this evolution introduced first nostalgia of rock bands of the past, but also additional IT complexity in your SOC journey, which is the topic I'm going to cover for the rest of these presentations. But before I go in the core of the presentation, I want to remind you that Trellix is the result of the merger of McAfee Enterprise and FireEye. Okay, so there are several guides to the Zero Trust architecture. Here, I have listed Forrester, Gartner, NIST, and the US Department of Defense, and there are many others. So what we've tried to do below is highlight some of the recurring themes that we find in those guides. So the first one, if we start from the left, is access control based on trust assessment. And I think that was one of the core themes of the presentation from Ivanti just before. The second one is continuous risk assessment and access control that adapt to this level of risk. So again, that was covered in the previous presentation. The third one is continuous data protection. The fourth one is ability to respond to threats quickly. And the fifth one is assume that you are already under attack. So the first 2 points are supported by identity management and network access management solutions, such as the solutions of Ivanti, but also such as the solutions from Sky High Security, which is our sister company at Trellix. Because when Trellix was founded, all the SASE solutions from McAfee was spin off into Sky High Security. So during today's presentation, I want to focus on the last 2 points, which are the ability to respond to threat quickly and assume that you are already under attack. So here, we've taken the Zero Trust architecture from NIST. NIST is the US National Institute of Standards and Technology. And so, here's my analysis of this architecture. So we'll start from the top left, and CDM stands for Continuous Diagnostic and Mitigation. It combines several technologies to identify the company's assets, assess the security posture of operating systems and their applications, and remediate risk to improve the security posture. Secondly, compliance solutions ensure that companies are compliant with regulations on which they depend. Threat intelligence solutions provide threat information so that you can detect and, where possible, automatically block threats and malicious behaviors, identify vulnerabilities, and help the SOC to find indicators of attack. Activity logs from system, applications, and network can also be used to identify suspicious behaviors and indicators and allow the SOC to construct the history of the attack. SIEM systems are generally used to manage these logs, although increasingly EDR and XDR solutions are complementing SIEMs. Identity management solutions manage user accounts and access to those accounts. PKI manages certificates. And finally, data access policies secure data. So the core of the Zero Trust architecture is based on a request for access from a system to a PEP, the Policy Enforcement Point, which will leverage the solutions, all the solutions that I've just discussed, and define whether this system has a sufficient level of protection to access the company resources. So let's go back to the concept of CDM, Continuous Diagnostic and Monitoring, with Trellix solutions. So Trellix EDR at the top here provides continuous endpoint threat behavior analysis and remediation. It collects endpoint telemetry and assesses the risk with threat intelligence from Trellix Insights. It also provides real-time and historical forensic capabilities requested by the NIST Zero Trust architecture. Then below, Trellix Network Security Solutions provide continuous network threat behavior analysis and prevention. They collect network telemetry and provide advanced forensics capability, especially with the FireEye sandbox, which is probably the best sandbox in the industry, as you will know. They also provide the historical forensic capabilities required by the NIST Zero Trust architecture. Then in third position here, Trellix Email Security provides continuous email threat behavior analysis and advanced forensics capabilities, again, with the FireEye sandbox. And retroactive alerting allows it to block emails which may take a long time to be convicted in real time. And finally, at the bottom, Trellix XDR extends the visibility and threat behavior analysis across your extended on-premise and cloud infrastructure. So it assesses the risk with threat intelligence from Trellix Insight, as well as mandiant threat intelligence. So Trellix XDR can be used alongside a SIEM. If you do it alongside a SIEM, that's to focus on threat detection and SOC efficiency with alert correlations and built-in playbooks. But XDR can also replace a SIEM. That's for customers who don't need SIEM for compliance or for advanced customization use cases. Now that we've seen CDM, I want to focus on threat intelligence. So we'll start with Trellix Insights. And Trellix Insight has several use cases. In the context of CDMs, Trellix Insight can assess your security posture and give a series of recommendations on how to reduce risk. Trellix Insights threat intelligence allows you to see which campaigns and which actors have been detected in your environment, as well as the campaigns that are the most prevalent in your country and industry, and also the campaigns for which you have insufficient endpoint protection. Then Trellix EDR and XDR can use the indicators of compromise from the threat intelligence to perform threat hunting. That means that they can find out if those indicators have been observed on endpoints monitored by Trellix EDR, or more broadly, from events and alerts monitored by Trellix XDR. Trellix endpoint network and email security solutions use Trellix threat intelligence to detect and block threats and malicious behavior automatically. And finally, APIs allow Trellix threat intelligence to be shared with third-party solutions, and you can find some of the existing integrations on that slide. Now, the name of this presentation is Building the SOC Journey. So to build the Zero Trust SOC journey, we think that XDR is a journey. Everyone's XDR journey is different, and you probably already have a lot of these capabilities in your environment, maybe from Trellix or maybe from other vendors. So if we start here at the bottom, for the endpoint, all organizations already have basic endpoint protection, and the evolution towards XDR is next-gen antivirus, then endpoint protection, and then EDR, and now the convergence of endpoint protection and EDR, and then finally XDR. For log management, so at the top, historical log management is driven by compliance traditionally. And the recent addition of SOAR, as in security, orchestration, automation, and response, is adding major improvements to the SOC efficiency. I did not mention data protection yet, except when I was covering the Zero Trust architecture. However, we think that this is part of XDR, alongside email, network, and other technologies such as identity threat management. So make it your own journey. The goal is to increase your SOC maturity from a foundation level to a trusted level. And as you can see, Trellix already has a lot of bricks available today. And please note that one of the things that's unique about Trellix is that we have those capabilities on-premise and in the cloud. So again, on-premise and in the cloud. We can help build your Zero Trust SOC journey using metrics such as foundation, operational, and trusted. And several guides on Zero Trust also include similar maturity models. Here are some of the examples of journey maps that we use in our workshops. So in this example, this is a workshop we use for the workplace. But we can do the same with your IT infrastructure. And we can do it for data protection. So if you are interested in participating in one of our workshops, which we can do remotely, easily, and sometimes we do them in person as well, do not hesitate to contact us. And I want to remind you that although I'm not here, my colleague Senia is here, so do not hesitate to go and see her if you want to book one of those workshops at the end of my presentation. So going back to our first slide on the evolution of the SOC journey. The SOC journey is becoming more and more complex as you are accumulating all these evolutions, unless you are able to remove completely the technologies from the past. Wouldn't it be great if you could just have cloud and remote work? But the reality for most organizations is that they need to cover hybrid infrastructures, emulating all these evolutions. And Trellix is there to help you at each stage of your journey to make sure we can cover your hybrid infrastructure. But before I finish, what do you think is going to be the next IT evolution and the next evolution in rock music? So I'm not available here to hear your answers, so I'm going to give you my prediction. And I think that AI, as in artificial intelligence, is going to be the next evolution both in rock music and in IT. I don't think we're going to hear music completely composed by AI, but this will assist us in the composers to create some interesting musics. But unfortunately, this is also going to help the hackers being able to provide more malware more easily. Thank you. And again, if you have any questions, if you want to participate in a workshop, do not hesitate to go and see Xenia during the next break, and tonight as well.